Sarah Martinez thought she had the perfect marriage until the day she found the cameras. It was a Tuesday morning like any other. Sarah was running late for her marketing job downtown when she noticed her coffee maker acting strange, a tiny red light blinking where there shouldn't be one. As she bent closer to investigate, her blood turned to ice. A micro camera, professional grade, hidden so expertly that only a malfunction had revealed it. Her hands trembling, she began searching the house. What she found next shattered her world into 1,000 pieces. Cameras in the bedroom, in the bathroom, in the walk-in closet, even one disguised as a smoke detector above their bed. But the real shock came when she traced the wireless signals. They weren't going to some random voyeur or criminal network. They were transmitting directly next door to 47 Maple Street, to the home of Elena Vasquez, the friendly neighbor who brought them homemade cookies every Sunday. Elena, the divorced nurse who always seemed to show up at just the right moments. Elena, who knew exactly how Sarah liked her coffee when they chatted over the fence. Elena, who had comforted Sarah's husband, David, through his father's death 6 months ago, when Sarah was away on a business trip. Elena, who had been living a lie for 3 years. That evening, Sarah confronted David, her husband of 8 years. She expected shock, outrage, a call to the police. Instead, she watched his face crumble with guilt. Sarah, I can explain. Explain what, David? That our neighbor has been watching us like laboratory rats? That she's recorded every intimate moment we've shared? David's silence stretched too long. When he finally spoke, his words destroyed what remained of Sarah's trust. She wasn't watching us, Sarah. She was watching you. Because I asked her to. The room spun. Sarah gripped the kitchen counter to keep from falling. What are you talking about? I thought you were having an affair, David whispered. You were working late, taking all those business trips, being secretive with your phone. Elena offered to help me find out the truth. She's a nurse. She understands technology, security systems. It was supposed to be temporary, just until I knew for sure. And what did you find, David? What did 3 years of spying on your wife tell you? David's eyes filled with tears. That you were faithful, that you were working extra hours to save money for the fertility treatments I said we couldn't afford, that you were planning a surprise vacation for my birthday, that every late night, every secret phone call was you trying to make me happy while I was destroying our marriage with paranoia. But Sarah's mind was racing beyond David's confession. If Elena had access to their entire lives through these cameras, she knew things. Dangerous things. Financial information. Personal secrets. The fact that Sarah had been embezzling small amounts from
her company to pay for David's surprise vacation. Money she planned to pay back with her upcoming bonus. Elena had leverage. And Elena had been getting awfully close to David lately. The next morning, Sarah decided to confront Elena directly. But as she walked across their manicured lawns, she noticed something that made her blood run cold. Through Elena's kitchen window, she could see multiple monitors displaying feeds from various homes. Not just Sarah's house, but the Johnsons at 43 Maple Street, the elderly Chins at 51, and several others she didn't recognize. Elena Vasquez wasn't just watching Sarah. She was watching the entire neighborhood. When Elena answered the door, she seemed genuinely pleased to see Sarah. Sarah, what a lovely surprise. Would you like some coffee? I just made a fresh pot. We need to talk, Elena. Of course, dear. Is everything all right? As they sat in Elena's pristine living room, Sarah noticed family photos that seemed oddly familiar. It took her a moment to realize why Elena had photoshopped herself into pictures with David. Pictures taken at the company picnic Sarah had missed due to food poisoning. Pictures from David's birthday dinner that Sarah had organized. In Elena's version of these memories, Sarah didn't exist. "I know about the cameras," Sarah said quietly. Elena's smile never faltered. "Oh, you mean the security system David asked me to help with? I hope you don't mind. He was so worried about you, working those late hours. We just wanted to make sure you were safe." "Safe from what?" "Well, you never know what kind of people might be lurking around a beautiful woman like you. David loves you so much, Sarah. Sometimes I think he loves you more than you deserve." The words hung in the air like poison. "What's that supposed to mean?" Elena leaned forward, her voice dropping to a whisper. "I know about the money. Sarah, the money you've been taking from Morrison Marketing. $50 here, $100 there, it adds up. I also know about the fertility clinic visits you never told David about. The ones where you've been getting tested to see why you can't get pregnant, when you told David you weren't ready for children yet." Sarah's heart hammered against her ribs. "You've been watching me for 3 years. I've been protecting David for 3 years, Elena corrected. From a wife who lies about everything, who steals from her employer, who lets her husband believe he might be infertile when the problem is hers. I was planning to tell him when, after another year of lies, another year of letting him blame himself." Elena stood, walking to her window that perfectly framed Sarah and David's house. "David is a good man. He deserves honesty. He deserves love without conditions or deception. He deserves better than you," Sarah shot back. Elena turned, and for the first time her mask slipped. The friendly neighbor was gone, replaced by something cold and calculating. "Does he, though? Because from where I stand, I'm the one who's been there for him. When his father died while you were in Chicago working, I held him while he cried. When you forgot your anniversary because you were busy with your embezzlement scheme, I reminded him that some women simply can't prioritize their marriages. When you rejected his advances night after night, claiming exhaustion, I listened to him wonder if his own wife found him attractive." Sarah realized with growing horror that Elena hadn't just been watching. She'd been manipulating, orchestrating situations, creating problems in Sarah's marriage while positioning herself as the solution. "You're sick." "I'm in love," Elena replied simply. "And love makes us do extraordinary things for ordinary people." "David is ordinary, Sarah. Beautifully, perfectly ordinary. He works hard, pays his taxes, calls his mother every Sunday. He deserves an ordinary happiness, with someone who won't complicate his life, with lies and schemes. Someone like you, someone exactly like me." Over the following days, Sarah tried to convince David to go to the police, to install new security systems, to move. But Elena had been too thorough. She had recordings of Sarah discussing her embezzlement with her lawyer, photos of Sarah entering the fertility clinic under a false name, evidence of every small deception Sarah had built to protect the surprises she'd planned for David. Worse, Elena had been slowly poisoning David against Sarah for months. Casual comments about Sarah's late nights, observations about Sarah's secretive behavior, gentle suggestions that maybe Sarah wasn't as committed to their marriage as David hoped. When Sarah tried to tell David the full truth about Elena's manipulation, he listened with the expression of a man whose trust had been shattered too many times. "So let me get this straight," David said wearily. "Elena is some kind of mastermind who's been orchestrating our marital problems. But you've also been lying to me about fertility treatments, embezzling money from your job, and planning secret trips. And I'm supposed to believe that Elena is the villain here? David, she has cameras in our bedroom. Cameras that you agreed to when I told you I thought you were cheating. Cameras that proved you weren't having an affair, which should have been good news. Except it turns out you were committing actual crimes instead." Sarah watched her husband slip further away with every conversation. Elena had made it impossible for Sarah to be believed. because every accusation was mixed with Sarah's own admitted deceptions. The breaking point came on a Thursday evening. Sarah returned from work to find David packing a suitcase. "Where are you going?" "Elena offered to let me stay in her guest room while we figure things out. I need space to think, Sarah, about us, about whether we can rebuild trust after everything that's happened." "She offered?" Sarah laughed. Bitterly. "David, don't you see? This is exactly what she wanted. She's been planning this for 3 years. Maybe," David said, not looking at her. "But right now, she's the only person in my life who hasn't lied to me." That night, alone in her house, Sarah made a decision. If Elena wanted to play games, Sarah would play better. She started with the embezzlement. Instead of hiding it, she came clean to her boss, explained the circumstances, and arranged a payment plan. She took the documentation directly to David, showing him that she was fixing her mistakes instead of covering them up. Next, she contacted the fertility clinic and requested full medical records for both her and David. The results were surprising. Neither of them had fertility issues. They simply hadn't been trying at the right times, something easily correctable with proper medical guidance. But Sarah's masterstroke was Elena herself. Sarah began her own surveillance operation, carefully documenting Elena's behavior. It didn't take long to discover that Elena Vasquez wasn't who she claimed to be. Her nursing license had expired 2 years ago. Her divorce story was fabricated. She'd never been married. And most damning of all, this wasn't her first time targeting a couple. Through social media investigation and public records, Sarah discovered that Elena had lived in 4 different cities over the past decade. In each location, she'd befriended married couples, slowly worked to break them up, and then moved on when the husband rejected her advances, or the situation became untenable. Elena was a professional homewrecker, and David was just her latest target. Armed with evidence, Sarah arranged a meeting with David and Elena together. She presented her findings methodically, like the marketing professional she was. Elena Rodriguez in Phoenix, Arizona 2018 to 2020, convinced Mark Stevens that his wife was cheating by showing him doctored photos. The marriage ended in divorce. Mark rejected Elena's advances and she moved to Austin. Elena's face remained impassive, but Sarah noticed her hands clenching. Elena Vance in Austin, Texas, 2020 to 2022. Befriended the Morrison family, gradually convinced Jennifer Morrison that her husband was having an affair with his secretary. Marriage ended when Jennifer hired a private investigator who found no evidence of cheating, but did find evidence of Elena sending fake emails from the husband's account. David was staring at Elena now, recognition dawning. And now Elena Vasquez in Riverside, California, 2022 to present, targeting the Martinez family with the same systematic approach: surveillance, manipulation, isolation, and replacement. Sarah placed a folder in front of David containing Elena's real identity documents, photos from her previous schemes, and testimonials from her previous victims. Her real name is Elena Vasquez, but she changes her cover story for each city. Sometimes she's a divorced nurse, sometimes a widow teacher, always the helpful neighbor who just happens to notice when marriages are struggling. Elena finally spoke, her voice calm and measured. "David, you can't possibly believe this elaborate fantasy. Sarah is clearly having some kind of breakdown. Look at the lengths she's going to—" "The lengths I'm going to?" Sarah interrupted. "Elena, there are 17 cameras, currently recording in various houses throughout this neighborhood. Should we call the police and have them do a search? Should we contact your supposed former hospital employer in Austin? Should we call Mark Stevens in Phoenix and ask him what happened to his marriage?" For the first time since Sarah had met her, Elena looked uncertain. David stood slowly, his face pale. Elena, is any of this true? Elena's mask finally cracked completely. The friendly neighbor disappeared, replaced by something desperate and furious. You have no idea what loneliness feels like. She snarled at Sarah. You have everything. Handed to you, a husband who worships you, a beautiful house, a career, opportunities. You don't even appreciate what you have. You lie to him, you take him for granted. You treat your marriage like an inconvenience. So you decided to take it from me? I decided to show him what he deserves. Someone who pays attention to his needs, who listens when he talks, who doesn't disappear for days on end chasing money and career advancement. Someone who puts him first. Someone who spies on him and manipulates his emotions. Elena turned to David, her voice becoming pleading. David, everything I did was for you, to protect you from being hurt worse than you already were. Can't you see that? David looked at Elena as if seeing her for the first time. You've been watching me sleep for 3 years. Watching over you, you recorded my wife in our bathroom, in our bedroom. You violated every boundary of privacy and trust. I was gathering evidence that she was faithful, evidence that she loved me, evidence that she was trying to make me happy. David's voice was rising, and instead of telling me the truth, you used that evidence to manipulate me into doubting her. Elena's composure completely shattered. She doesn't love you the way I do. She can't. I know everything about you, David. I know you talk in your sleep about your father. I know you cry during movies but try to hide it. I know you check on the locks 3 times every night because you're afraid of someone breaking in. I know you better than she ever will. The silence that followed was deafening. The police arrested Elena Vasquez that evening on charges of stalking, invasion of privacy, and electronic surveillance without consent. A search of her home revealed surveillance equipment for dozens of houses, detailed files on multiple families, and a disturbing shrine dedicated to David that included photos taken without his knowledge and personal items stolen from their house over the years. The investigation revealed that Elena had been planning to frame Sarah for her embezzlement in a way that would have sent Sarah to prison, leaving David vulnerable and isolated, the perfect setup for Elena to position herself as his salvation. During Elena's psychological evaluation, doctors diagnosed her with erotomania, a delusional disorder where she believed her targets were secretly in love with her and needed to be rescued from their current relationships. David moved back home, and he and Sarah began marriage counseling. The process wasn't easy. 3 years of manipulation had left deep wounds, and Sarah's own deceptions had damaged trust that would take time to rebuild. But they had something Elena never understood. They had chosen each other. Not because of perfect circumstances or flawless behavior, but because love isn't about being perfect. It's about being real. About working through problems together instead of letting someone else create them for you. 6 months later, Sarah was pregnant. They never found out if it was the medical guidance from the fertility clinic or simply the reduction of stress in their lives, but it didn't matter. They were building something real together, something that couldn't be manufactured or manipulated by someone watching from the outside. Elena Vasquez was sentenced to 5 years in prison. The judge noted that her crimes weren't just against Sarah and David, but against the very idea that people have the right to privacy, to make their own mistakes, and to love imperfectly, without being watched and judged by someone who confused obsession with devotion. In her final statement to the court, Elena said she still believed she had been trying to help David find happiness. She never understood that happiness isn't something you can steal for someone else. It's something you have to build together, in private, away from the cameras. the manipulation, and the perfect neighbor who knows too much about everyone else's life and too little about love. Sarah thought her nightmare was over when Elena went to prison. But 3 weeks later, she received a letter with no return address. Inside was a single photograph of Sarah and David in their bedroom, taken 2 days ago. At the bottom, in Elena's handwriting, "Did you really think I was working alone?